One of the things God calls us to be is a reconciled community that brings his reconciliation to the world. Part of how we do that, especially in a divisive season such as we're in, is to listen first, not to argue, but to understand. That can be difficult, however, because sometimes we use the exact same words, but we do not mean the same thing by those words. Take, for instance, the phrase Black Lives Matter. To some people, that means an organization, or maybe even conjures images of rioting. But to other people, that's not what those three words mean at all. To others, the phrase Black Lives Matter is a statement of their inherent dignity, and that in fact they do indeed matter when sometimes they've been made to feel like they don't matter. So we asked some people, African American people, who are part of BelPres, what those three words mean to them. So let's listen to them for what those three words mean for us together as a family inside of BelPres. And listen to their experiences, because when we don't believe their lived experience, that brings pain. So let's listen to understand.
I originally had trouble with the phrase Black Lives Matter, but the continual disregard for life, as if it had no meaning, led me to fear and anger and sadness and grief. I understood that the words needed to be said. Black Lives Matter needs to be said.
You know, at times I feel like it's really hard to reconcile the lived experiences that I have day to day being Black in America with the acceptance and the belonging that I feel in the gospel of Jesus. And so it just gets really hard to put those two pieces together. And I think Black Lives Matter for me has been a way to enter into spaces that just feel really safe.
What I'd like BelPres to understand about the Black Lives Matter movement is that there's a lot of pain, and that there's a lot of pain that's been unspoken.
And it is traumatic, to say the least, to experience this, to witness this, and to have to deal with this.
BelPres, what we need you to understand is every time we see one of these hashtags about a Black person losing their life, we think it could have been me, or it could have been my child, or my spouse, or my niece or my nephew.
I think as a younger person, growing up in Bellevue all my life, I've known all my neighbors, everyone around here for a very, very long time. And they see that I've come from a family that's very loving, very privileged. So they don't exactly expect that I have been discriminated against for my skin color, or I have experienced oppression to a certain degree, solely based on my race and my background. And I think that's something that I'd like people to understand.
It's beyond just having more Black and brown people in seats on Sunday. It's this deeper understanding of their lived experiences. It says, I recognize that because of your skin color, you may have had a widely divergent experience that's clouded by hatred and fear. And not only that, but there's systems and policies in place in the world that may have contributed to you feeling that way and held you back and contributed to your lived experiences.
Black Lives Matter because the Bible tells us so. And Genesis 1:26 and 27, the Bible tells us that we are made in God's image. We are God's creation, and God's creation is good.
Me saying Black Lives Matter doesn't mean that I matter more than anyone else or anyone else's life. It just means that Black lives matter as much as any other life.
So I think the thing I'd want BelPres to understand about the Black Lives Matter movement happening right now is that it's actually just a continuation of decades of civil rights movements.
Far too many times in our nation's history and past, Black lives didn't matter.
Black people have been fighting for equal access to education, to jobs, to civil rights for centuries.
Today, too many people want to say, well, we moved past this time of overt racism and oppression. Current events don't speak to that. Current events do not speak to that.
So for me and for us, BelPres, this is our time to be moved by the pain of others, to enter into their suffering. This is our time to be part of healing this world.
When a group of people or individuals say Black Lives Matter and represent that phrase, I see it as an extension of God's love for me. And so I know that there's love and belonging in that space, and it's a safe space for me.
We're not asking you to join Black Lives Matter, the organization. We're asking you to affirm what we already know you believe. Black lives matter. They matter to you. They matter to God. And they need to matter to this society.